Veteran player in New York Republican politics has landed a new job with a Washington, D.C. outfit. Former state GOP Executive Director Matt Walter has been tapped as the new political director for the Republican State Leadership Committee. Now, last year, the RSLC spent nearly $20 million to try and secure as many executive mansions and state legislative chambers as possible, including the New York State Senate, all with an eye toward redistricting. Walter is joining us to talk more about his new role and also opine on the 2012 landscape. Matt, thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure to be here, Liz. Thank you very much.
It's good to see you. So congratulations first.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited about it. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to miss you, though. You're going to leave us here in New York. This is it's a long time.
Yes, it is. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, and but I won't be far away. I suspect you'll be seeing a good chunk of me here, and I'm only a phone call away always.
Oh, well, thank goodness for that. So explain to people what the committee actually is, the genesis of it, how it got started, and what its focus has been.
Absolutely. The Republican State Leadership Committee is the only national organization that's focused on electing Republicans at the state level to the positions of Attorney General, state legislative chambers, be they Senate and or House or Assembly, secretaries of state, and lieutenant governors.
Okay.
And so in that capacity, that makes it the largest caucus of Republican elected officials at the state level across the country.
Okay, so actually last year the committee played in a lot of states and had some success, but in terms of here the focus was on the state Senate, correct? And actually the committee spent more than $1 million to help the Republicans successfully take back the majority.
That's correct. New York State was one of the states that they played, and they'll generally come into states where they think that they can tip the balance, where it's close enough, particularly in a redistricting year as we had last time, to make a real difference beyond just the quality of government you're providing within that state to a larger objective. And it worked out to the tune now of approximately 3,900 Republican legislative seats across the country, which is a high dating back to the 1920s, I think.
Wow.
Here in New York, it was approximately $1.4 million that were involved in the state Senate races, two of which, Senator Ritchie and Senator Zeldin, are now new state senators, and I was happy to be a part of that effort.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, though, because right now we've been focused a little bit less on redistricting. We talked a lot about redistricting reform during the campaigns. I mean, what is your feeling when people say, you know, the old-style politically driven redistricting isn't fair, it rigs the system for incumbents, and in the case that we're talking about here, that's actually exactly what you wanted. You wanted Republicans in power so they can keep themselves in power. I mean, there's no secret about this. The Republican Leadership Committee is for Republicans.
Well, there's a reason that the census and the redistricting process is in Article 1 of the Constitution. The Founding Fathers had wisdom to know that anyone that can be involved in this process and be effective and knowledgeable enough about it would have a vested interest and would have a stake. That's the very basis of our democratic system of government, and that's the system as it exists today. But I will tell you that, and I'd be happy to talk quite a bit more about redistricting, because the RSLC was designated as the point organization for redistricting for the 18 states that gained or lost seats, and so we're looking forward to working with them on that. But it does work on a variety of other initiatives with those different caucuses and electing those individuals beyond redistricting. But I'd be happy to answer any more redistricting questions as well.
Okay, good, because as of right now, redistricting has become a really big issue in a downstate little mess that we have, and that's the Anthony Weiner scandal. I mean, and leaving aside, you know, I'm not interested in you opining, unless you want to, on the scandal and whether he should resign and all that, but there's a lot of discussion about whether or not the Democrats really want him to stick around, because they can just jettison him, because we've got to lose 2 seats, and he would be sacrificial lamb, essentially. What's your thought on that?
Well, that's their problem, and they've got one on their hands, and it seems that everybody is enjoying watching it. So, unfortunately, and the only opining I'll do on it is, unfortunately, when situations like this pop up, it distracts from real problems that people actually have, and so that's the real disadvantage to it.
Will the Republican State Leadership Committee be involved in New York in 2012, or are you just going to be done because you came and did what you had to do, help the Republicans take back the majority in the Senate, and then gave them a toehold so they could control, essentially, redrawing the lines to keep, hopefully, from your standpoint, keep themselves in power?
Well, we'll be involved in a whole variety of different states beginning right this year. There are a number of state legislative races, attorney general races, and lieutenant governor and secretary of state races in states like Kentucky. You have legislative races in New Jersey and Virginia. You have active races in Mississippi and Louisiana. So we're actively involved in those races, and I suspect that we'll be involved in a large number of those going forward into 2012. It doesn't end with the redistricting process. It's an organization that exists for these larger purposes. That was the focus the last time around. But it exists for these larger purposes and will continue to do so. It's a little early right now to say exactly where we'll play and at what amounts as the picture comes together and we continue working with different states and different caucuses. And I look forward to working with New York, obviously, as a lifelong New Yorker, and in the other 49 states as well. And our goal is really not to insert ourselves into that process at this point, but to let the local organizations determine who the best candidates are, the best structures are, and then when it gets to the point closer to the elections where we can come in and be involved in a more tangible way, having continued a line of communications, we'll do that.
So do you believe, actually, Matt, that the Republicans have a good shot in 2012 at holding on to that Senate majority?
I do. Absolutely. There's a reason that the Republicans have held the Senate, with the exception of this last example where the Democrats had it and did not provide a very effective set of government for 2 years. I think is generally well agreed upon within the Senate, but have held it with the exception of 1 year since the 1930s. And while there are changing demographics and while things do get more difficult, it's all rooted in whether or not you provide quality service to your constituents.
Well, hold on. Is that really what it's rooted in? Because, you know, look, it's 5-3 Democratic edge enrollment statewide. It's really rooted in the fact that you draw the lines to benefit people the most who are in power, and that would be the Republicans. I mean, do you believe that if we had nonpartisan, completely just by the numbers redistricting, that the Republicans would really be able to hold on? Well,
there's a longer conversation to be had whether a nonpartisan redistricting can possibly exist. I don't believe there is nonpartisan redistricting. It's a process that's rooted in the political process and has been and was seen as such by the Founding Fathers. Nevertheless, what you're seeing within politics in general is an increasing move away from specific registrations with parties, and people vote much more on issues not necessarily tied to what their registration is.
Yeah, that's
true. You've seen an increase in unenrolled and a number of increases in independents. So I think looking at that straight 5-3 split doesn't give you the best representation, and I would argue if you're going to look at the most recent results, doesn't necessarily give you the best government from what we saw from the Democrats.
Well, okay, but you know, in every other instance, you have the Democrats controlling everything. I mean, really, the Republican Senate majority is the last toehold of the Republican Party in New York. I mean, and in the 2012 cycle, you have a situation where you're going to have Barack Obama at the top of the ticket. The Republicans can't seem to figure out who they're going to run in the presidential race, and then all those Democrats who come out only once every 4 years are going to come out and probably vote right down the line. That's pretty challenging for the Republicans, is it not?
Well, there's always challenges and there's always opportunities. I think you are writing the story of the 2012 elections a little bit early.
Yeah, I'm done.
At this point. I think the Republicans are going to have an excellent candidate at the top of the ticket. I think they're going to do a very effective job of making their case. And one example of where the RSLC is involved is with the attorney generals and pushing back against overwhelming federal incursion into the states with Obamacare. And
okay.
It was those individuals that stepped back against it. So I don't know that President Obama should be, picking out the next drapes for the White House, nor do I think that that's going to have that big of an impact down ticket.
So is George Pataki going to be running, do you know, the former governor?
I don't know. I don't know.
And just in closing, though, I mean, look, you're leaving New York, and now would be a good time for you to really sort of just lay it all out there and tell us how you feel about the New York Republican Party. Because to be honest with you, there's a lot of people who believe that the New York Republican Party is in trouble.
The Republican Party has significant challenges. There's no question about it, and it's been a challenging time as of late. But you rise to those occasions or you don't, and that's what makes great history. I love the New York State Republican Party, and I love what it stands for. I love its position within the political process of making arguments and continuing a dialogue that makes for government that's better for people. As ugly as that process may be, hey, look, this is how I feel about it. This is the truth.
But you're not speaking about the leadership of the party, for example.
Who specifically are you?
Well, the chairman.
Are you asking
the chairman.
about? The Chairman Cox?
Yeah, you worked for him.
And I did indeed. And I will preface all my remarks in relationship to the New York State GOP the same way as I will with other states. Republican State Leadership Committee is not looking to come into any state, even one that I care as deeply about and know as much about as New York State, and dictate from Washington how things should be done. That's a fundamentally un-American and un-Republican principle, and I'm not going to do that. What I'll say is that Ed Cox has always been very good to me personally. He's done some things well. He's done some things poorly. He'll make that case to the elected, the members that elect him, of which I am not one, and they'll make their decision this September.
Okay, well, unfortunately we are out of time, but I think that we will probably be talking to you again, Matt Walter. Good luck.
It was a pleasure.
It's great
Thank
to see you.
And in the meantime, until I'm here again, rslc.com. Feel free to look it up, find out some more information. My unabashed plug, and I look forward to seeing you again, Liz. It was a pleasure.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Thanks.